en el botón de interpretación en la parte inferior a mano derecha de la pantalla de Zoom. Usted verá un icono de un globo terráqueo. Y si se está uniendo a través de la aplicación de Zoom por medio de un smartphone, elija su idioma haciendo clic en More, más, o sea, los tres puntitos en la esquina inferior a mano derecha de la pantalla. Seleccione Language Interpretation y luego elija Spanish. Haga clic en Done, y si desea escuchar solo a los intérpretes y no a los oradores originales, asegúrese de hacer clic en Mute Original Audio. Silenciar el audio original. Gracias.
Okay, Araceli, we're ready.
Okay, good evening to everybody. I'm Araceli Sanchez. I work with Mental Health America, and tonight we're going to be having a conversation about anxiety and depression in children and teens, identifying the signs and symptoms post-COVID. I am also the program manager for Family Urgent Response Team, and this is a program for current or past foster youth. So with that, you're gonna see some terms that may bring some questions that may not be able to answer during this recording, but I encourage you to reach out to your doctor. With that, let me tell you a little bit about me. So I am the program manager for FIRST with Mental Health America of San Diego. I'm a registered associate in marriage and family therapy, as well as a registered associate in professional clinical counseling. I have worked providing services to the community for many years in several capacities, including as a domestic violence counselor with different police departments in the county, as a trainer for mental health first aid, and many other opportunities. A personal challenge brought me to mental health, and I'll continue to serve this community, as I know everybody deserves these services. I envision a community where mental health, mental wellness becomes a priority and not a privilege.
Araceli, we have one hand raised right now. Cynthia, did you have a question?
I don't see a question from her in the chat room.
Okay. If there are any questions, please type them in the Q&A chat box, and we will get to them as we are going through the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so what is anxiety? Anxiety has a biological, chemical, emotional components, as well as environment. Anxiety is the mind and body's reaction to stressful, dangerous, or unfamiliar situation. It's a sense of uneasiness, distress, or dread you feel before a significant event. A certain level of anxiety actually, it's good, because it tells us that we are getting in contact with something that is dangerous. But with those suffering from anxiety disorder, which is different, it feels far from normal. It can be completely debilitating. I'm talking about anxiety and depression. This is what we know even before COVID, And afterwards, we'll have an opportunity to see some videos that will go more into the dynamics that we see of anxiety and depression during and after COVID. Is there a difference between anxiety and worry? Anxiety means that I have fear. There's fear in me. Worry, I'm concerned. So there is a difference. And when worry is constant, then we're talking about anxiety. When it's debilitating, when it is present for more than 2 weeks, that's when we start to talk about an anxiety that needs to be seen by a professional. Signs and symptoms of anxiety. And at any time, we may have this, and not by having one of these symptoms, it means that we have anxiety. We may have this for any other reason. It's the combination, it is how it is affecting our daily life, and it is the amount of time that we have been going through these signs and symptoms that makes it a diagnosis, okay? So those are constant and persistent worry, edginess, nervous or jumpy, reluctance or refusal to go to school or other activities. Before we were eager to go, now we don't want to go. Or we would love to go to visit somebody and now we don't want to. Agitation, restlessness, inattention, poor focus. Somatic symptoms like headaches or stomach aches. Avoidance. I avoid mentioning before going to school, avoid seeing certain animals, avoid somebody. And with this, we ask the why. Tantrums, crying, meltdowns before school about clothing, hair, shoes, socks, or after school about homework. And this can be any other day. Again, your child may be having a difficult with this, and that doesn't mean that it's anxiety, but it's an opportunity to say, what's going on? Is this normal development? And a professional would be able to tell you if other symptoms are with this, then we're talking about something else. Difficulties with transition within school and between school and any other activity or sport. Difficult settling down for bed, having high expectations from schoolwork, homework, or sport performance. And here is where we see the little kids just being so anxious and nervous about going to a game or the homework, not wanting to do the homework, actually avoidance of doing the homework. Why? Because I'm nervous that I'm not going to be able to do it. And sometimes, again, it may be because we just didn't understand the lesson. So different types of anxiety. We have the phobias, when fear are out of control, and phobias are specific. It can be to spiders, it can be to a place in particular, it could be to airplanes. Separation anxiety, fear of being away from family or grown-ups. When our kids have a challenging time separating, we're going out to dinner and they're having a meltdown, or they're going with their grandparents and they're crying and you just don't understand why this is happening. So it's worth asking the why. Generalized anxiety disorder, constant worry for months at a time. Panic attacks, fear that stops you in your tracks. You just freeze. Obsessive compulsive disorder, thoughts and actions that just stop. They just cannot stop. And post-traumatic stress disorder, stress, fear from a terrible memory. And trauma, we hear the word trauma everywhere, and trauma at the end of the day is pain, it's fear. And anxiety sometimes what it's doing is protecting us from facing something. So it's worth having the conversation, not to alarm us, but it's red flags that we need to take in consideration. What's depression? The medical definition of childhood depression is persistent sadness. When it occurs, the child feels alone. We hear those words, hopeless, helpless, and worthless. When this type of sadness is unending, it disrupts every part of the child's life. And I know we're talking about children, they're a little, but we're starting to see cases of depression in very young children, unfortunately. The red flags can include child or teen acting out, isolating, and no longer wanting to do the things they have enjoyed in the past, self-harming behaviors, or comments about not wanting to live. And depression, interestingly, tells you when you have a cold, your body asks you for lemonade or fruit. Depression and kiddos and an adult as well actually starts telling you all the things that you actually they're not going to help. It tells you not to go out. It tells you maybe you are not hungry or you're eating too much. It tells you not to go to social gatherings, which in return, that's actually the opposite of what you need when you are diagnosed with depression. What to do about self-harm or suicide thoughts? Always take this information seriously. Reach out to a professional for help, support, and resources. So with the signs of depression, the signs and symptoms of childhood depression include changes in appetite, as I mentioned, in sleep. It may be too much sleep or too little. Continuous feeling of sadness, of hopelessness, difficulty concentrating, fatigue and low energy, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, impaired thinking or concentration, increased sensitivity, physical complaints, anger, the reduced ability to function during events at home, at school, with extracurricular activities, or even involved with our hobbies or things that we like, social withdrawal, thoughts of death or suicide, and vocal outbursts or crying. And sometimes, again, you may see this one symptom or one of the signs, and you may say, oh, immediately, oh, we're talking about depression. Depression needs to be diagnosed by a professional. But if you're seeing several of this and it's affecting the person's or the child's ability to socialize, to be in school, to enjoy things, and it's happening for more than 2 weeks, obviously that's when you start making a consultation with a professional. And when they're talking about death and suicide, that's an immediate reaction. So with that, how do I know if my child or teen needs help? Are you noticing different patterns in behavior, in eating and sleeping and withdrawing? The teachers are reporting changing behavior with child or the child care providers, families, friends, people that know the child. Is your child teen withdrawing and not willing to talk to you? And we know with teenagers, this can be normal because that's part of the process. Again, little hints. Does your child teen share that he or she is sad, lonely, and worried? And there have been any significant life changes or losses, moving, friends, illness, injuries, divorce, death of a friend or family member. And right here with death and family members, and we can add here the traumatic event that COVID came to our lives and how it changed our lifestyle. And so you'll see this in the videos, and we'll also at the end try to figure out what other things COVID taught us and what is it that we can utilize from that period to better our life. And also if your child or teen has been the victim of bullying, okay? So with that, what does it help? Counseling, relaxation training like fully body scan, meditation, yoga. Can you do that with kids? Yes, you can. Actually, with meditation and with yoga, they teach you how to breathe. They teach you with kiddos that we utilize when we're in therapy, the bubbles. Why the bubbles? Because you need to concentrate on taking deep breath and then blowing a bubble. If you do it too fast while you're releasing the air, it bursts the bubble. But actually, there's no bubble. When you do it slowly, you have a big bubble, and that's actually very encouraging for the kiddos. Medication, supplements, vitamins. Again, this is given by a medical professional, not the neighbor, not what helped your friend. Psychological assessment. And so what's the difference between a psychiatric, a psychologist, and a counselor? Between these three, the psychiatrist is the only one as your doctor who is able to prescribe medication. They are the only ones. Psychologists, counselors cannot prescribe medication. Okay, that's the difference. So I'm gonna put you this video that was created by our partners at UC Health that will talk about COVID. There's a set of three. One is 6 minutes, the other one is 7, the other one is 13. They're very well done. It's with kiddos and telling us about their experience. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the link now.
Kids they feel everything around them. They feel how their parents feel, they feel how we feel, and we forget that sometimes. They're just little sponges taking in all those emotions, and it's going to come out in a big way sometimes.
Like not seeing everyone like kind of stressed because of COVID, because it seems like they're like not doing well.
We can't see the video.
No, it just looks stressed and like angry sometimes.
We can't see the video.
And like they're always just wearing a mask.
I'm sorry?
Araceli, we can't see the video. We just hear sound.
Okay.
You might have to change your screen over to the YouTube video because we can hear it, but we can't see it.
Okay, so help me out with this one. How do I send the YouTube to you?
I think you might have to stop sharing your screen and then just click on the link again because it didn't open up another window.
Okay.
And then once you see the YouTube video on the screen, just reshare your screen.
Okay, hold on. Reshare my screen. So I need to go here and share screen. Let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat the steps that you told me. Thank you for your patience. Can you see it?
No, we need to reshare your screen.
Kids feel, they feel everything around them. They feel how their parents feel, they feel how we feel, and we forget that sometimes. They're just little sponges taking in all those emotions, and it's going to come out in a big way sometimes.
Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Like seeing everyone like kind of stressed because of COVID, kind of, because it seems like they're like not doing well because of COVID. They like just look stressed and like angry sometimes, and like they're always just wearing a mask. Kind of hard for everyone else.
When I talk to kids in my office, sometimes they have trouble remembering what school was like before the pandemic. Kind of mind-boggling when we think that in a child's life, in a 10-year-old's life, the COVID pandemic has been 10% of their entire life. The 7-year-old, our memory goes back to about age 3. So a 7-year-old has about a 4 years worth of memory. 25% of that has been in a COVID pandemic.
Looking for stress in kids is looking for things that seem unlike their usual self.
When I'm mad at something, I can get a little me wanting to hurt it very bad. I screamed in my pillow.
Children act out for a reason. They aren't just acting out to make their life miserable. They act out as a way to let us know something's not right.
It really ruins how you connect with people because now you just have these things on your face.
A lot of communication, open dialogue, telling her to feel safe talking to me about anything. So even if it's COVID or how do you feel, like having feelings, being frustrated, it's okay. How can we deal with it? What can we do to ease that? Because it is what it is, and yes, we have to keep going and adjust. It was really hard for him to not know what was going to happen. And so I saw a lot of his coping behaviors really come up to the surface that don't really have properly.
Often,
family and in relationships and friendships and all of those things, how we can help each other get through those storms.
One of the things that I really like to do is tell the kids that they have in their stomach. So when you breathe in, that balloon gets filled out. So your belly is going to get bigger when you breathe in. And then you slowly blow out the candle. So then your belly goes back in again. This helps to calm the whole system down. We're breathing up here, breathing up right there. So parents can teach their kids how to rock on the edge of a chair. They can, better yet, put them in their lap and rock the child. Comfort them. And by all means, stay calm and calm. They can also chew gum. Chewing gum is great for focus, which kids are having a really hard time with that right now. And at the same time, it can give your body a way of releasing kind of that excess energy that you get when you're stressed out.
Helping children recognize high type of stress and label feelings are the first step toward beginning to monitor lurking in depths of their mind.
Okay, let's go to the next one. $1,200, 5. And then I need to, sorry for this.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience as we get started. Again, everyone, we open the room. It takes a couple of seconds for everyone to trickle in. So give us about 30 seconds or so to see everyone join us.
Araceli, we aren't able to see the video if you have it on your screen, if you would like to share your screen again. And then we did have a question about getting the links for the video later. We can include, we can add the link. Araceli, if you want to send me the links later, I can email that to parents.
Okay, I hear somebody talking.
Strategies for managing anxiety. Tonight, I'm by Zoya Pemper, a child and psychiatrist across the Health Center with Cohen Children. Gina Today is Director of Social and Therapy Services at the Hospital, and Amy Weissman is Social Worker at East Rockaway Junior and Senior High School. We're so excited to have her with us tonight. Before we get started, we do want to kick off a quick poll just to get our audience a little bit better. You guys should see it pop up on your screen in a second or so. If you can just take a couple seconds.
Araceli, are you showing a video right now?
No, I'm hearing somebody talk.
Just kind of pick your favorite, we'll figure it out.
I'm hearing somebody talk, so I don't know what's going on.
Super quick, looks like everyone already submitted their vote. So that's
Can you hear me, Monica?
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't hear what you're hearing.
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. We will be talking about
I'm hearing somebody talk about school refusal.
Araceli, I think it's your other tab that you have open for the video. You have 2 tabs open on YouTube. One of them is playing the sound and the other one is not.
I hold on a second. And I don't see what else is playing. I'm sorry.
For your YouTube videos, you had 2 tabs open. So one of them is playing sound.
Got it.
We have a question from one of our attendees. The question is, can you touch upon how to have discussions regarding the school shootings with our children in a way that is not going to cause more anxiety?
Yes, we can go over that. Let me just finish this, and definitely we can talk about how you talk. Especially, I think it's important to be very mindful of what, if you have the news playing, you have to be mindful of what kids are seeing and explain to them that some things you cannot control. But at the beginning, you kind of ask, what is it that they want to know? Because that tells you what level of information they need or how much information they have been exposed. And what you want to do is stay as concrete to their questions and not overshare information. So talking about what schools are doing to keep everybody protected, that it's unfortunate that we are challenged with this, and how media as well is unfortunately we're seeing it everywhere, and it's not that it's going to happen necessarily to our school, but media is playing it in a way to inform us, but it's giving us too much information. So it's not easy to tell a child what is going on exactly and say this person woke up and this is what happened. But again, you ask, you see what level of information they have, and you take it from there and be as concrete as you can, and let them tell you what they're feeling. The fear is what is it that they're feeling, and saying, I'm here and I'm making sure that you are protected, and your school is making sure that you are protected. That would be a way. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
I'm sorry that I'm having,
There you go.
I'm doing this from my office, and usually do it from a different computer. So that's why I'm having this challenge. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's the YouTube video, the one that you showed us at the beginning.
There's 3.
Okay.
Become a progressive take practice. Currents of daily life change and throw us off balance. The key is not to give up and ask for help when you need it. Students, teachers, and parents were thrown for a loop by the ever-changing realities of school during the COVID pandemic.
It's been hard. I think the going from totally virtual, then into hybrid, then we were back to virtual, and then in person. There was a lot of changes that needed to be made really quickly.
The kids that actually be there to play, like at recess with your friends and stuff, or be able to really talk to them the whole time you just had to learn. It wasn't that fun at all. Because like you didn't get to be at school with your friends. All you did was go on the screen with them. Being in normal school, you can actually like learn better. So when you're virtual, you don't learn as much. The people that like just singing music can't sing because of COVID. And for art, we have to bring our own art boxes so we don't spread germs with the other ones. I think it helps kids understand that they don't have it as bad as they think. I think that brought people closer together because when you're in quarantine, you're just with your family. I mean, sure, you can't see family outside your house, but at least get the time with your parents that you will not usually have.
I've been teaching for 16 years. This year, the relationships I had with the parents were so unique because in the beginning we were communicating so much, through the computer and emails, but they were so understanding. We did used a lot of literature for social emotional healing, lots of time talking about that. A lot of class meetings where we could just discuss, sitting in a circle, how we're feeling, where we're at. And then a lot of play, a lot of outside play time, and just letting them feel, you're back at school. This is where you belong. We'll do our best, we'll keep you safe. I have a lot of joy seeing how far they've come. I really, truly think we don't give kids enough credit. They're resilient, but they do need to feel safe and comfortable, and they need to, feel welcome. And the school is an important place for them. Your children are so different at school than they are at home, and that's a good thing. That's how you want them to be, and it's hard as a parent to play both roles with your child. The total change and breakdown of routine is really hard. Watching him like crawl under his desk in the first online learning session, completely melting down, unable to look into the computer. This is a kid who can interact with other kids normally in school, and just I couldn't get him out from underneath his desk. He was sobbing. He was afraid everyone was going to be looking at him because you can see all the everyone's faces on the screen. The academics are, of course, so important in why we go to school, a big part of why we go to school. But these kids needed more. They needed more, just more emotional, social health regulation, just those kind of pieces. If you came into my classroom in a typical year, we're in groups. Those kids are in a group of 5, and we're sharing materials. And then when they came back, this year, their desks were, 6 feet apart and spaced all over. So there was that piece, even for them, I know they could feel it. And the mask piece as well. With that age, children in elementary school, they need to see your expression.
Although school is important, the health and happiness of students is really the most important thing. Communication is key. If your child is struggling, reach out to the teacher. It is hard for teachers to assess how kids are doing, especially with online learning.
I felt like I couldn't reach all of them in one day the way you can in person. When they're in front of you, wow, that kid's got that. Ooh, I know what to do right now. But on a screen, it's just, these adorable faces looking at you. And are they looking at you because they're, totally taking in what you're saying, or are they watching the television behind you? I think all of a sudden the world got to see what teachers do. I'd have parents say, I only have one, and you have 25 or 30 of them. We got to see, it was like opening up the classroom to everybody. This is what we do. This is, why we're here. And I think it gave parents an appreciation, and maybe the community appreciation, and also us for, what parents have to do, and how they've, stuck with their kids through all of this. I'm pretty positive watching our community. People are keeping each other safe. People are getting vaccinated, and it's just a slow and steady we'll get there. Be compassionate and be kind and show people grace and patience, because it was a difficult year for a lot of people.
Anxiety and stress tend to be internalized and often come out at home, not at school.
It was a lot of all angle disappointment. Can't play with your friend anymore. Had to move. Don't do that as much. Can't even go to school.
During online classes, taking short 10-minute breaks to get kids outside, do some stretching, pet the dog, can clear their mind. Recognize the value of organized activity in your child's former life before COVID.
Things were ripped apart from them so fast and without warning. All of a sudden, they couldn't see their friends anymore. They couldn't go to the park. They couldn't see anyone outside of their household. No longer in school. That doesn't go away overnight.
I wasn't really able to do soccer during that time. I hated it so much.
No, we don't get to play on the playground. We just run around the playground.
There's still some things that aren't back to normal, because now we have to wear masks, and we can't go anywhere on the playground anymore.
Having a best friend was huge for him. Someone that was in our bubble. We didn't watch the news, kind of kept him from that. And when he had questions, I tried to answer them as honestly as possible. I didn't try to shield him from anything.
We are all experiencing the effects of a collective long-term trauma.
I foresee ongoing challenges. Socialization problems in these young kids. They've had a year now without it. And how do you bounce back and go into the classroom then with all of the students wearing masks, sitting 6 feet apart, not being able to touch your other kids or play tag on the playground? It's difficult.
I do think we are building a very resilient generation of people. These children that are going through the COVID pandemic now are forced to figure out how to deal with their feelings, how to cope with stress, how to respond to things that change on a dime. 1 minute they're going to school, the next minute school is shut down, and then they're expected to do school online. So I think that is one thing that I hope for the future, is that the children of this generation are going to be very adaptable and very resilient. We as adults have to provide them with the tools to do that.
Academics will come. Their mental health is far more important than a math sheet or finishing a public report. We have to protect our child's mental health.
So what can adults do to help kids through these tough times?
They can offer to help, or tell them not to stress about anything, because it's gonna be okay. My mom is very encouraging. It's really been just trying our hardest to hang out with people that I used to be able to.
It's important to check in with kids, discuss their feelings, communicate with teachers, and keep expectations realistic. If all that doesn't feel like enough, reach out for more help.
Please don't hesitate to reach out to a qualified child therapist in our community. A great place to start is resources at school. All of our schools have excellent school counselors, psychologists, mental health professionals. They can help kind of assess the situation and determine what the next step is. At the Mountain Crest Outpatient Clinic, we have child therapists, we have child psychiatrists, resources for adults as well. Parents need to be sure they're taking care of themselves and seeking out help for managing their own emotions at the same time. They're trying to help their kids.
Experts can help us learn to handle life's tough ways and gain better balance to ride out future stress. On your journey to become a pro stress surfer, remember, it's okay to wipe out. Just take a breath, pick yourself up, and when you're ready, try again.
You see this app right here? It's called Audible.
Using just this little app on my phone,
Sorry.
I was able to replace my full-time income and quit my job, all because of using Audible.
I'm sorry for this. Again, this computer is not helping me. Okay. So I go back to this slide that we have already seen. And it's interesting because we saw this slide before COVID, and it's the same slide now. Are you noticing different patterns in behavior in your children? How they're sleeping, withdrawing, reports of changed behavior by teachers? Are they worried? Besides COVID, is there anything else going on, illness or injury, that we need to be aware, and that you need to continue to have those conversations with your child?
Araceli, can you reshare your screen so we can see the slides?
Yes. Hold on a second. Computer is not cooperating. And right now here at the office, it's not allowing me. It's not allowing me to share what I want to share with you. So what I'm going to do, and it's the last slide, and I'll go over it, which is very important. So what do we need to recuperate from COVID? To listen, to ask, to make a list with your kids about what scared you during COVID. And this is a conversation that you can have with them. What were the activities we had as a family during COVID that we enjoyed? Because now that we have transitioned into normal life, if we can call it like that, some of the activities that we created during COVID that the children did enjoy, it seems like we have forgotten about those. So children are also stressing over and missing that part of COVID. Those conversations, the cooking, the watching TV without the worry about that it was time for homework, that time together. Other questions that you could ask is what scares you after COVID? And unfortunately, we have other issues that have come up that could go on that list. And again, conversations that you're having with them, you're listening to see what's on their head, what's on their mind. And as parents, how can we help? What activities can we continue to have as a family? And let them know that they have an input, that it's important for you to know what helped in the past, what helped during COVID, and what is going to help right now. So it's important. These are the key things that we can take as positive of COVID. Obviously, we had losses, we had changes. They are gonna last for quite a while, and with the variants and things we hear. But if we focus on this question, on what can we recuperate of the activities that we did together as a family, what else can we do? How can we help, as the children were saying? I think that's going to ease. We know that's going to ease anxiety and the expectations that children could potentially be putting on themselves to be, again, straight A students, once again, be meeting the deadlines and being that child that the parent was saying, I have such a wonderful student, and now it's time to go back to say a student, a child, as we got to know them even better during COVID. And this is a presentation that we have over anxiety and depression. Please excuse my technology issues that I had with this computer. And I do hope that you are able to take this part with you. You take it with your family after this conversation.
Are there any questions from anyone who is attending this Parent University? You know, one of the things that I've heard our school psychologists say at the middle school is that the impact of COVID on all of us, it's going to be for years and years to come. So much happened while we were all at home when everything was shut down. And we can't expect things to go back to what we consider normal anytime soon. And it's super important what we talk about at the middle school and in the counseling office is that it's going to take about we expect it to take at least 5 to 6 years before the lasting impacts, slowly fade away. And what we used to think about normal is not going to be normal anymore. So that's something that I have, learned about being, living through a pandemic, and especially working with kids at the middle school. And we do see higher rates of students who are experiencing anxiety, some other mental health challenges. And what we try to focus on is coping skills. How can we manage all of that? And where do we meet our kids where they are at now?
Correct. And the world is telling us, that we are back on some form of normality, which in mental health, we know that is going to take a long time, and it's going to look very different today, tomorrow, in 1 year, in 2 years, and 3 years. And we need to be aware of that so that we don't fall into the trap of, okay, we're back. And everything needs to follow how we used to be. Because there were hard lessons before COVID, during COVID, and there's opportunities of learning what is truly important in a children's life as well. And I'm glad that you're making that point. Thank you, Monica.
There is a comment from an attendee that it's hard to get kids mental health appointments. A lot of therapists and psychologists are booked out for many months. Do you have a list that can be shared of therapists in the community? That is something that we do share with our parents, especially if you have private insurance, the waiting list for somebody to be matched with your child is very long. And we've noticed that too, whenever we try to find somebody for outside of school counseling. But we do have a list that we share with our parents, and I can send that over to you.
Yes, absolutely. And here in Mental Health America as well, we're expanding our counseling team because of that same reason. We are collaborating with the Mexican consulate as we speak to provide services as well. We're looking for places because we do know that the need is greater right now.
I would encourage you, though, that if you are having a hard time connecting with a mental health professional, reach out to the school so that you can have that support from somebody at the elementary school in the meantime. And that can be something as simple as a check-in with your student, or if there are any school-based counseling groups or any school-based individual counseling sessions. Both campuses have psychologists, and at the middle school we have I'm the school counselor at the middle school, so I would encourage you to reach out to the school if you want something in the meantime. And again, it's school-based counseling, so it's not a clinician who is providing services, but something is better than nothing, and especially while you're waiting to get connected with somebody outside of school.
Correct.
Well, we will keep it open for any other questions that you might have. And if there aren't any other questions, thank you so much for being here today and listening to all this information. I am at the middle school, so you can always reach out to me, but you can also reach out to the school psychologist at the elementary school if you have any other questions in terms of mental health supports.
All right, Monica, would you like to finish the meeting? Is it finished already?
Yes, we can stop recording now. There aren't any other questions.
All right, well, thank you.